All righty. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the security booth. I am your host, the blind security of the community, also known as Mr. Fleeks. I have a wonderful episode for you guys today. Excited about the gentleman that is sitting down with me at the table. A wonderful gentleman, entrepreneur, has created his own business, went and strive and has the multiple degrees. Hey, welcome to the table, Charles Powell. Hey, welcome, my man.
Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you for having me at the table. Truly appreciate the invite.
We had to bring you back, man. After that wonderful interview that we had on the blind table talk. I just really had to come bring you on and just sit you down in the booth with me, man, and let's just jump into like the real testimony and your journey, because it's just I felt the energy and the passion that you spoke with, on that day, and I just like, yeah, we have to get more. You know what I mean?
Definitely appreciate that, Soldier. Definitely appreciate that. Like I said, it's an honor being at the table. It's just, you know, I don't do it to say I did it or look what I can do. I just did it to be like, yo, look, we're blind but not broken.
There we go. That's what it's be. That's what it's supposed to be. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so, for my listeners, just a little brief background, where you're from, and your visually impairment level, where's that is, and how was that caused?
Okay. My name is Dr. Charles W. Powell II, hailing truly from Brooklyn, New York, but I now reside in West Virginia. I am totally blind. I lost my sight 2012 to retinitis pigmentosa. Most of us know it as RP. And the journey from that day till now has been nothing short but a blessing. And it's only by the grace of God that I'm here to share this story.
And that's beautiful, man. And that's how I relate as well. I went through my journey, just letting you know what's going on, because my listeners was able to know this about myself. But so for me, I was a drive-by shooting, unfortunately. Trauma to my octave nerve at the age of 16. And I had to go through like extensive, rehabilitation. I spent 2.5 months in ICU. Then I did another 2 months in rehab. I end up going through like 3 different aneurysm surgeries. I had a stroke during the surgery. So after that stroke, it left my left side paralyzed for like 2 weeks. I had to kind of mentally fight through that, and that's why I relate to like your strength and the passion that you speak with, because it's not that we do this to prove anyone wrong or to prove that we're better than or anything like that. It's to show that we're not broken. We are, men who just happen to have this situation, going through the situation, but that doesn't make us no less of a man that we are, and it doesn't take away our passion and our values. You know what I mean? And so, that's why we had to. Just why I had to bring you to the table. So, let's talk about like what how did you feel when you first went through the losing of the sight?
Oh my God. I would love to sit here and tell you that, it was nothing. I went blind and I bounced back, but I'm a man of God, so I'm not gonna lie to you, Joe. When I first woke up that morning, first and foremost, retinitis pigmentosa running my mother's side of the family. My grandfather was totally blind, and like I said, I was considered one of the lucky ones that I had my sight as long as I did. I always had bad vision. I wore glasses when I was a youngster, but everybody know growing up in the inner cities and in the hood, you don't want to be Steve Urkel. So as soon as I got old enough, I started having the laser surgeries, which, it helped out because I stopped wearing glasses. I figured I was
Yeah,
one of the cool guys.
yeah.
Not being educated about my situation, I didn't know if that hurt it or that didn't help the situation of the RP. So I did keep my sight longer than most of my other family members. But like I said, in 2012, I lost my vision. I woke up one morning and it was just gone. It was as
Mm.
total darkness. And I was just like, what? I screamed for my fiance. You know, she came in, and this happens to happen. I had an eye doctor's appointment like 2 days, 2 days later. But we called my eye doctor and went in, and she had no idea what happened. She couldn't tell me, but I was blind and it wasn't coming back. When she told me that, man, I was in denial. I didn't want to be blind. I didn't want to believe this. So we went to specialist after specialist, week after week, and they told me, like, okay, the same answer, you're blind. Once it really sunk in and hit me, I went on a downward spiral. I got drunk every day. I drunk when I wake up. I went to sleep drinking. If I can drink it away, I would. I was just totally, devastated. My fiance, if she said good morning, it was an argument and a fight. If she said, how you doing? It was an argument and a fight. And I gotta say, this woman was God sent, because I would have left me if I was her.
I hear you. I hear you.
It
Beautiful.
was crazy. And I had my daughter. My daughter was 5 years old at the time. She had no idea what was going on. And I was just, for the first 6 to 9 months, I was just going through it. I mean, I just wanted to drink. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I didn't want to go out the house. I don't want to do nothing.
Yeah.
And, I was basically trying to kill myself in the slow and, undeliberate way. I didn't want nothing else to do with life. And it wasn't until the time one day my daughter was just like, Daddy, why you don't love me no more? Why do you don't play with me no more? And every time she said that, I was like, Daddy is blind. I can't see. I can't do this. Leave me alone. And remind you, my daughter is and was my world. That was the greatest gift that God had ever gave me. Then when it hit me, I kept using that excuse. I was just like, okay, this can't keep on. It was my fiance who researched retinitis pigmentosa, researched the National Federation of the Blind, researched the Division of Vocational Rehab. As much as I yelled, argued, and cursed this woman, called her everything but a child of God, she was still finding ways for me to deal with this, finding resources for me. So I had to stop the drinking, cut back on the drinking, started, reaching out to people.
Yeah.
I had a chapter of the National Federation of the Blind right here in my community. She set up a day to go meet them. It was one of their meetings on a Saturday. I went to this meeting, and first and foremost, I ain't want nothing to do with these people. I ain't know them. They blind. I ain't even want to accept that I was blind, so I ain't want nothing to do with these people.
Didn't want to be around them. That's typical. Yeah, I can relate.
Exactly. So my fiance, she went with me to the meeting. She introduced herself and introduced me, and I'm just sitting there still like, man, I don't want nothing to do with these people. Yeah. And the first thing that my fiance noticed, she was like, everybody in this room got a smartphone. Now, mind you, one of my first goals was to go get the old school flip phone so I could feel the buttons, dial a number, hit send or end, and make a phone call.
Yeah.
That was my next move. So when she said everybody had the smartphone, I asked one of the people there, young lady by the name of Brie, I asked, can I see her phone? And how are they using a flat phone? That's the first time I've ever seen an Apple iPhone. Wow. When that thing started talking, I was like, what in the world? And, she showed me how she did text messages and things of that nature.
Yeah.
I left that meeting, went to Radio Shack and bought me an Apple iPhone.
Legit. That's how you get on. That's how you get the ball rolling,
Exactly. So I did that. And, when I was playing with that, I learned how to text message. Deanna had already had me, appointment with the Division of Vocational Rehab. I went up there, I talked to the counselor there, and they turned me on to places like Hadley. They turned me on to Bard. I mean, I'm starting to see now, okay, Bard, the library for the blind and visually impaired, you got digital books. They had courses that, typing and keyboard and little courses you can learn different things.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, now mind you, before I lost my sight, I was an outdoorsy person. I ain't want nothing to do with computers. I ain't even have a Facebook page back then. I was just old school. I come from that era where I was outside till the street lights came on, you know.
Yeah, in
Then
the
when we went
community.
inside,
Yeah,
we took a bath and went to bed. We didn't do the computers and game thing.
I feel that.
So when I started going to rehab, you know, they turned me on to training, mobility training. I
Yeah.
hated the white cane for the first 12 months. I didn't use a white cane. I'd rather hold my fiance's hand or hold my daughter's hand.
Man, I think everybody went through that. I was not using my cane when I first came into this community. I even saw like some other, cause I was a student, so I saw some other young men around my age, and they wasn't, kind of really using the cane, but they was trying to tell me like, we've been going to this school for quite some time. It's familiarity. Like you have to learn that way, but you have to deal with the cane first. And I'm just like, man, I'm not trying to deal with this cane. I'm an athlete. I like you said, I'm always outside, playing ball, playing neighborhood football with the community until the street light come on. Like I'm always washing the car somewhere, like going to go work for someone, cutting yard. So I'm always have been that outdoor active person. So it's like, no, I'm not about to lose myself to this white cane. And that's, that's the typical thing.
Exactly. I felt like the white cane showed weakness.
Yeah.
And, you know, every time I want to do something, I call for my daughter, I call my fiance, take me here, take me there. And, you know, I ran into a couple of things, a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And then, that was when they started sending me down to Nitro, which is Nitro, West Virginia, where they had their training facility at. I took training in mobility with the cane, and I was down there for like 3 weeks, and I was in a hotel, and my fiance had to come back and work because she was the breadwinner. So, you know, I'm down there by myself and, you know, trying to get around a hotel, a strange hotel with
Yeah.
new cane. I learned the hard way that, okay, either I'm going to use this cane or I'm going to have a lot of new bruises.
Real.
So
Real.
I started using my cane and I got computer training down there and I got, you know, cooking. They showed me a lot of things down there. So when I came home, you know, I was still utilizing that. So I learned how to use a computer. I learned how to get around. I started using my white cane. I learned how to deal with life without vision. And
Mm.
at this point, I'm on a computer, I'm taking them little courses from Hadley, like typing in keyboard and it's little classes.
Yeah.
So it got to a point in life, I'm like, okay, I can do this. They got me signed up for disability. And honestly, I'm not saying this to be arrogant or to be rude, but when I got
Go
that
ahead, Seg. I think I already know what you're about to
that
say.
disability check, I was like, man, what I supposed to do with this?
Real talk. Hey, what?
I was like, man, look, I'm grateful. Don't get me wrong. I thank God. I
Mm-hmm.
was grateful for that, but I was like, man, I can't live on this.
Cannot.
I was
Cannot,
like,
man.
I got a 5-year-old daughter and I got a sneaker habit, man. I'm addicted to shoes.
I feel you all the way. Like, and see, for me, I was, like I said, I was still a teenager, but even still, like I was I've been working. I've been working since I was 14, doing different landscaping, washing cars. So I was taught how to make, money for myself in the right way. So
Exactly.
once, they give us this supplement income and I'm seeing 400 and I'm just like, yo, I can go I can go cut into the yards and houses and make this within a day, So it's like, this is for the month. No way. There's no way I can see myself sustaining a whole lifetime just being on this SSI.
Exactly.
It's just like no way.
That's where I was at with it. And I was like, okay, then you know, right now at this stage of the game, I was comfortable with my blindness. I've accepted, okay, I'm not gonna see no more, but I still got life. So me and my fiance, we sat down and we talked about it. So my thing is, now mind you, I come from the era where you know everybody got some hustle in them. So
Mm-hmm.
I gotta know how I can make this better. I can't live off this social security. So what can I do without sight? I got
Right.
whole new skills. I could do a little computer thing, this, and that. But you know, I only got a high school diploma, and that ain't going far. I'm a grown man now, mind you. I wasn't young when I lost my sight. This is only 13 years ago.
Yeah.
So we sat back, and I'm sitting there like, okay, what can I do without sight? I need something, and just so happened we went to a blackberry festival. It's like one of the little carnivals out here during the summertime.
Okay.
And young lady was out there, Kimberly Blair, the woman who changed my life. She was out there. She was the admissions representative for the West Virginia Junior College. And she was out there, stopping people, talking to them about the school, this, and that, what they offered. And she
Yeah.
stopped my fiance. Now, mind you, my fiance is a nurse, but she didn't know this, but she putting her sales pitch up about the school. And my fiance was about to cut her off, be like, I'm a nurse, I don't need that. But when she said paralegal studies, 18 months, this, and that, I'm like, wait a minute. I was interested.
Yeah.
And I said, tell me more. So she told me more, fooling out, told me where the school was at and all that. And I mean, I left there, conversation was good. So when
Yeah.
we got home, I told my fiance, I'm like, I want to go check that out. She was like, seriously? I'm like, yeah. So she supported me. She didn't say, no, you can't do it. That's crazy. So we went down to the school. I seen the same young lady, Miss Blair, and I went to her office. And the first thing she was like, well, you're blind. I'm like, okay, we got that out the way. I kind of figured that when I came in here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And she sat there and she talked to me. And she was like, you know what? You that motivated to try it? We're going to do this. She enrolled me. She took me to the office and I met the secretary. They got all my paperwork done. So the classes were starting in a couple of months. When classes started the first day, all the instructors at this little junior college came to me like, well, I never taught a blind guy. Well, hell, neither have I.
Right.
I was like, I never learned as a blind student, so let's try this.
Yes, sir.
And, that's because of my attitude. They was like, you know what?
Let's
Okay.
do it. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got in there and the 18 months went by crazy quick. I was on the dean's list. With the vocational division of vocational rehab paid for me a sighted assistant to go with me to class. So he went with me to class, and the professors, they let me do everything on the computer, email my assignments and stuff. And I had digital books, and if it was something that I needed sight, I had a sighted assistant to help me.
Right.
So I got through this. I'm going through this. I'm like, okay, I'm about to have a paralegal certificate. That's got to help me get a job. So when I'm almost finished with the 18 months about to graduate, the representative from the big school, Salem University, right here, which is like 45 minutes away from my house.
Okay.
They sent the representative down, and he was like, well, we come down because you get your associates here, and if you want to go to Salem, you'll come in, and you only got 2 years for your bachelor's. So they invited us up to the campus. And I was like, okay, what can it hurt? I go to the campus.
Yeah.
I get up to the campus, and since I'm in paralegal studies, the criminal justice, the dean of the criminal justice department was putting on his famous murder house. And this is a house that, they have a crime in there. He'll walk his student through, and they got to figure out what happened and break it down.
Yeah.
Now, not knowing that the lawyer, my criminal justice teacher in the junior college, was actually a lawyer, and he had already spoke to the dean at the big school. So when I got there, he asked would I be willing to go through the crime house. He walked me through. He explained everything what happened. Everything. He ain't said what happened, but he said what was in the crime house.
Right.
It was
Okay.
drugs on the table, guns here, baby crib with no baby, a head cut off outside. It was a crazy scenario. So when he told me the scenario, he said, well, what do you think happened? I said, well, just on a walkthrough, I would say, and I gave him my opinion. And he was like, you're not 100% right, but I will tell you, you're closer than any of my students yet who could see. So wow. He was like, have you ever thought about, coming to Salem? I'm like, not really. I mean, honestly, when I went to the junior college, I just wanted to get a job. I was just trying to help, make money to help provide for my family.
I hear that.
So, he gave me this whole talk, and we met the dean. So I ended up signing up for the criminal justice bachelor's program. To make a long story short, that bachelor's program turned into a dual bachelor's, triple master's, and to God be the glory of doctorates in business administration.
Blessings, my brother. Big salute. And
So
see, that's what I'm talking about with this, with the determination, dedication, and just being motivated or just want to, do better for your family. You know what I'm saying? That and just having your faith. You know what I'm saying? And this is why I be one of my listeners to understand. Like, of course, the journey is hard and it's a storm, but you must have it. We must understand this within ourselves. We must be determined to go to that next step. We must have that dedication to be able to move forward and just like take these heavy steps, and just understand that we want to make this change for ourselves and for ones that's involved in our life. You know what I mean?
exactly. And you said the key word. The journey was nowhere near easy. But like I know, that's being blind, visually impaired, we're different. So we got to be twice or three times as good just for them to see us as equal.
Mm-hmm.
We got to educate society that we're blind, not broken. When they see us, I am trying to kill the stereotype. When you see a white cane, you think of someone on the corner begging for change.
Yes, sir.
Those days are over.
Yes, sir.
We are here and we're taking a stand. You can overlook us, but we can do everything that they can do. And
Mm-hmm.
when I say that, I'm not saying that, for someone to say, well, he's blind or she's blind, he can't do that. You can't do that. If you sit back and agree that you can't do it, you just giving them fuel for the fire.
That's it. You're feeding into it.
We're here to let them know, like what you guys are doing at the Blind Professional Networks, you're making a stand. You can do this. You come back. I mean, you said, okay, I'm blind, but I'm still out here doing my thing. And that's where I'm making a stand at. We see Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles, they can sing. Yeah, they
Mm-hmm.
blind. They broke down the music industry. We're not here to say only thing we can do is call center or music. We can do anything we
Hello.
put our mind to. So that's basically where I'm at with it. And when I say that we can make a difference, after I had all of my degrees, after I got my dual bachelors and triple masters, I sent my
Yeah.
resume out to law firms and corporations within a 25-mile radius from where I live.
Okay. Okay.
Once they got my resume, my God, they was calling and calling, beating down the door for me to get an interview.
I would imagine so. Them qualifications like that, my brother. Yes, sir.
Exactly. But get this. Once I made the interview and I go to the interview, soon as I walked in with that white cane, the whole atmosphere changed.
That's sad right there.
And I was like, I'm not gonna say for a fact that it was my blindness, but let's keep it 100.
Oh
With
yeah.
that resume, with that credentials, and then
Mm-hmm.
I hear you hired somebody with the same position I applied for who didn't even have a paralegal certificate.
Mm.
So,
There's
you
nothing
know,
else we can really say on that one.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept on. Now, mind you, I am not determined because at this time, holding all that education, I was washing dishes at Chick-fil-A. I was determined to bring in a paycheck of some kind. So,
Right.
I went to Chick-fil-A when they had an ad for a dishwasher. I went in there. The manager was like, "You serious?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they looked at the cane and I told them, I'm like, "Look, it's a dishwasher position. If you take me back to the dish area, show me where I'll be working and what I'll be working with, I'll tell you if I can or can't do it." So the manager was like, "Okay." And while we was back there, he steady telling me all the reasons why I shouldn't do it. But I'm letting him know, like, right now, you don't have no dishwasher.
Hmm.
So
Why not?
you
Huh?
give me the opportunity to show you that I can do this.
Yes, sir.
And if I can't do it in 3 weeks, I come to you like a man and like, look, I can't do it. It's outside of it's just not possible.
Yeah.
I end up being one of the best dishwashers they had, so say the manager and the owner.
Man, look at that, man.
So
Blessings.
I stayed with them. Now I'm still putting in my resume everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2021, I created Divine Visions Consulting and Paralegal Services LLC. I got all this education. I know what I'm doing. I'm just gonna hang out my own shingle.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Create your own. Yes, sir.
this was in August of 2021. I created it. Now I'm out there, I'm promoting it, social media, putting cards out, flyers out. I'm getting a little work, but I still got my
Okay.
main paycheck coming from Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
So, after talking to my fiance and, dealing with a lot of things, I told her, like, okay, it's here coming up on Christmas time. January 1st, I'm quitting Chick-fil-A and I'm just going to be Divine Visions all the way. And she was like, if that's what you want to do it. So January 1st, I quit Chick-fil-A. I'm doing little stuff with Divine Visions, working on my doctorates, and I'm getting little money. But midway through February, I get a call from an oil and gas company who's looking for a legal consultant. Now, this is one of the biggest oil and gas companies in the country. Actually, we got an office out there near you guys. But I goes in for the interview.
Yeah.
When they called me, and I told the young lady who called me, she seen my resume somewhere on Indeed, wherever. And I'm to the point now, like, look, I'm blind.
Just straight off the bat, like
straight off the bat, I'm tired
yeah.
of doing this song and dance with y'all. I got my own company. So, I'm good. And she said, okay. So I like, all right, I'll go to the interview. I steps into the interview. Two young ladies in there, the office managers. 5 minutes within the conversation, she like, could you excuse us? And they was like, do you mind if I bring in another coworker? So I'm like, oh, here we go. So I'm like, okay, it's your company, whatever.
Yeah.
They come back a few minutes later. Dude just introduced with a first name, no last name, no nothing. I shook his hand, and I guess he was in the corner sitting because I ain't hear nothing else from him. So they continued the interview. And one of the office managers was like, well, we do this, this, and that. Can you do it? I opens up my briefcase, take out my computer, turn on my hotspot, and I said, what do you do? What kind of research you want?
Yeah, I hear that.
When I started typing, they're like, what's that? I'm like, that's called JAWS. It speaks to me, but they asked me to look up and research something. I gave it to them. And then they kept the conversation. So this interview went on for like 45 minutes to an hour. When it was over, I thanked her for having me. I came home, I sent the email to thank you for having me and this, and that. So, I wait. I don't hear nothing for a week. I'm like, oh, here we go, whatever. Yeah. Following week, the office manager asked, well, could you come in on the following Monday? I was like, okay. I came in the office and, the same young ladies, they showed me to my office, they sat down and talked to me. And then I heard the voice of the other employee that came in. So I said, yo, what's up, man? How you? And he said, I'll deal with you in one. I'll talk to you in 1 minute. Give me a second. He came in my office. He shut the door. He said, did they show you where the kitchen and the bathroom and everything was? I'm like, yeah. And they showed me around. So he introduced himself. Come to find out, this is the CEO of the company. And he was like, when they came to me and told me I had to come in this interview, I didn't know what to expect. But he said, after hearing you speak for the first 5 minutes, I knew you was hired. And the only reason it took so long for you to come in here was I was preparing everyone else. He was telling the whole company that he hired a blind person. He was getting my office closest to the kitchen, the restroom, the doors, and the meeting rooms. So he was actually setting up everything for me.
Wow.
And that was one of the companies, and I take my hat off to them today because they took a gamble on me. They took a risk, and it actually worked out. I stayed with them for like 1.5 years, and then it was coming up on the time for my doctoral study, my dissertation. And anyone who did the doctoral journey know that's not a part-time job.
No, it ain't.
This is the biggest paper for the biggest degree out there.
Yes, indeed.
So I fell back from the job. I paid more attention to Divine Visions, and I got my doctoral study done, and I graduated in April 2024.
Blessings.
But now I'm just running Divine Visions, and doing my thing.
And see, that's what I like. Like, I want to attest at that. The passion, the dedication. We have most people who go into these interviews and they get hit with that question. So what can you do? And we'll verbally explain to, oh, well, I can do this. Oh, I can do this. But you hit at, and this is why I have to repeat because I need my listeners to understand. When they asked you, what can you do? You said you reached over and grabbed that briefcase, pulled out your laptop and start activating JAWS. You showed them what you can do. You know what I'm saying? Instead of explaining verbally, because we could talk all day and it's hard to grasp that picture off of just hearing with words. But once you see it with the words and then you see the energy, you see the passion, you understand the motivation of this man. It's like, okay, this is the energy, the attitude that we must step, in these corporations with. Not, oh, I'm blind. I really just want this job. I promise I'll be your hardest worker. Like just take this chance. Like that's fine. That's cool. But we have to take that extra step. We have to show that motivation. We have to have these equipment with us and just be all the way prepared. And I love how that you showed that. And even going through the journey, like you said, you went through this and you just started off drinking. So we all start off angry. We think the world is over. We don't know what we're going to be able to do. But you did not let that stop you. And I like to say that your family, having that family around, like you wanted to do that for your family. It just wasn't for yourself.
Exactly. And I mean, honestly, like I said, first and foremost, I thank God for it. But my fiance and my daughter, they are the real superheroes. They are the strength behind me because I gave up on myself. When you lose your sight, people don't understand. When you lose your sight, you just don't lose your sight. You lose your identity. You have no clue. I will speak for myself, being totally transparent. I knew who I was before I lost my sight. When I lost my sight, I had no clue who I was. Everything was so superficial for me.
Yeah.
I didn't have an identity. I had an identity from, who I used to be. I am no longer that person. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, I was no longer that person. So I had to find my identity of who I was and what I wanted to do. You're right. As sad as it is to say, people go blind and they will get that disability check and be happy.
Be content. And that's not what we need to do.
Exactly. They will be like, I'm blind, I can't do it. And that was one of the things. I don't put down no one. But when I was speaking in the blind community, when I was telling the people that I got close with who were blind, that I'm going back to school to see if I can make myself more employable, their first thing was, why? You gonna lose your check. And right then and there, I had to cut my association. Not being mean, but I couldn't, at the stage of life that I was at, I couldn't have that around me. It was like being an addict. You got to change people, places, and things.
Yes, sir.
If you're going to change your mindset, you got to be around those who have the same mindset. I still have people, and I still see people or hear people in the blind community who don't care. They don't care what they look like. I can't see what I look like, so why should I care? Because everyone else
so much.
Everyone else can see you. And this is what we need to do. As sad as it is for me to admit, for every person like yourself, Victoria, me, and the blind community who's taking a stand, there's 20 others who still live in that stereotype.
Yes, sir.
The stereotype that we're trying to break, to be totally honest, it didn't get out there by accident or by false pretenses. There's so many people out there who is portraying the blind begging for change.
Yes, sir. And that's what we have to take accountability of for ourselves and our community. And
exactly.
That's the issue.
We can't say that people got that stereotype or that image of us by accident or by false pretenses. That's what was put out there. Before me and you, my grandfather was totally blind. And I'm talking about a man, we talk about in the 1930s and 40s. He
Mm.
didn't have all the technology that we have. He had a straight white cane and a Braille pocket watch. This man lived in rural Virginia, Long Island, Virginia, a place you probably never heard of. But he ran a farm, cows, chickens, pigs. And my mother used to send us down there from the city every year so we wouldn't get in trouble. And when I see my grandfather, I used to be like, this man lying. He ain't blind. He going out there getting
Mm.
the eggs from the chickens, slopping the pigs, milking the cows.
Yeah.
And sometimes he didn't even use his cane, and I never understood that. He would go from his house to the mailbox, which is about a good half a mile. Like I said,
Mm.
he lived in the country.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
understand
he
that.
walked up and down that dirt road, around the yard, around the farm with no cane. I never understood that until, when my daughter, her elementary school is about a good 12 blocks from my house. Her mother had to go to work, so I walked to the school and picked her up. After so long, I could do that walk without my cane.
Mm.
I count steps and I know corners, and then I got the Victor Trek with the navigation on it. So, I
I
mean, I don't use my cane. Sometimes if I'm just in the neighborhood or at the in-laws' house, I don't have a cane.
I dig it.
So, I mean, this is what we do. But getting back to the fact that it's all about what you want. It's all about the dedication. And now I today I can be like, I am the owner and CEO of Divine Visions Consulting and Paralegal Services. I do this, I do that. And when I go into jobs now, I don't say I'm blind, I'll work hard for you, I'll do this, this, and that. I'll
Mm.
tell them that I'm in a 1 percentile of
Mm.
professionals in my field with the education and degrees I got.
Yes, sir.
13% of Americans in this country holds advanced doctorate degrees or business degrees. Now, when you take that, an individual with the triple masters, dual bachelor's, and legal experience with a doctorate degree, 0.3%.
Man,
I
I'm smiling so
stand
hard for
here
you.
as a blind man in that company. So
Beautiful.
this is what I'm saying. You can look over me, the companies out there, the law firms, the businesses, look over me, go to someone else to do your business. But they're not better than I am.
Mm.
And I don't say that, I don't wake up and say, I want to be the best blind business person I know. I wake up saying, I want to be the best business person out there.
There we
I
go.
want to be the best consultant, best legal practitioner, best business manager. Devon Visions is going to be the top of his game because that is my determination. Now, doing it, I happen to be blind.
Hey, that's it. That's the best way to say it too. Blindness have nothing to do with the success of what you want to do in your career. It's just we happen to be these men who are blind. We happen to be these individuals who are blind, but our mental set, our attitude, how we, pursue it and how we, persuade ourselves, like that's what we have to attend to and like really just focus on that and understand that.
Exactly. And we need it out there. I don't, like I say, I don't want to get to where I am and say, I'm happy, I'm content with it. I want to pave the way for the next generation of blind and visually impaired. If me and Joe can do it, if we can do it, yo, y'all can do it. And here's
Yes,
the thing,
indeed.
you have resources. If you're out there, you want to start your own business, reach out to Divine Visions. If you need advocacy, you need to know laws, you need to know the disability administration. I had few resources. I didn't have as many resources as I think I should have had, but right now I'm giving the community another resource. And this is not a business speech saying, okay, I'm going to charge your arm and a leg, because 9 times out of 10, if you reach out to me, I know you want a fixed income.
Mm.
I'll probably do it out of the goodness of my heart because I want to see you rise up. I am crushing the stereotype. Joe, Victoria, the Blind Professional Network is crushing the stereotype. We want everyone else to crush it with us. So If you need a resource and you're from the BI, the blind community, reach out to me. And let's do it together. I mean, honestly, each one teach one, each one reach one. Let's
There we
lift
go.
each other up. Let's rise and strive with one another.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Teamwork makes the dream work, my man. And that's how we change our community. That's how we change the narrative. That's how we build this awareness, bridge the gaps. And that's how we help even the sighted community to even understand, like, oh, these are individuals that are blind. Blindness is not the end of the world. They're so much capable of so much more. And human beings. Everyone's different. Everyone's have they different things. We all are human, and we just have to just change that mindset.
Exactly. Blind but not broken all day, every day. And I love being in the public eye because I have individuals in my life, in my community, who when they talking to me or they see me, the biggest compliment I ever got, they be like, man, sometimes I forget you blind.
I love it when they say that.
I love it when they say that.
Yes,
like,
sir.
Man, that's the greatest compliment you ever gave me. And one thing I would like to say, Joe, and everybody's been politically correct these days, and I said it 100 times myself, but I need to break from saying it. Visually impaired. People, we're not visually impaired. When I lost my sight, I gained my greatest vision.
There we go.
So
there we go.
Let's say blindness. It is what it is. It's not a curse. It's not contagious. We're blind. We're not visually impaired because I may not have sight, but I got a vision of a better today, better tomorrow for my daughter and the future generations. And that vision is very clear to be the best individual I can be without sight.
I love it. I love it. And see, that relates into what I say, because when I came into this community, it's like, oh, you lost your vision. I'm like, no. I lost my sight. I have plenty of vision. Like this, and I have not lost of where I want to be in my life, what I visualize, for my business, for my family. I just lost my sight. I have plenty of vision. Exactly. And that's what we have to understand. So when you said that, I'm like, yo, I love it, because that's the motivation, that's the attitude that we must be on.
We got to, man, because people, they play with words or they say that, but when you got 100 people saying you can't do something because you're blind, you got 500 more individuals out there who say you can do it, who are doing it blind. And again, big ups to you, my brother, because you, the Blind Professional Network, you guys are making it possible for us to have a stage, a platform to spread the message. Someone out there needed to hear this. They needed to see this, whether they're blind, whether they're sighted. They needed to hear that, okay, there's people out there who thriving with it. I can hear stories about everything that's going on, but it's kind of hard when it's like a myth.
Yeah.
Clark Kent turned into Superman. That was a myth. But when they see other individuals out there with blindness thriving and doing what they do, it's a beautiful thing, man. And y'all putting a platform out there, so the secret is out.
Yes, sir.
People in my neighborhood see me every day. Oh, there go Charles of Divine Visions. There go Dr. Powell. But thanks to you guys, living rooms all over the country gonna know that blind is not broken.
Yes, sir.
Thank you guys for that.
Hey, and I really appreciate you, Dr. Paul. I know we don't like to be too formal, but I just love saying that, man. That puts a huge smile on my face. It's nothing but respect. And that's what people must understand. It's all respect, it's all love, all day long. And I appreciate you, my brother, for sitting down with us and just having to share this opportunity and your testimony. Listeners, take something from this. Dedication, motivation, determination, love, baby. Just love yourself, do better. That's what it's about. Blind Table Talk, yeah.